Right now, the looming fiscal cliff, and after a very long week, maybe a little positive news. Could we actually be moving away from the cliff? Well, the president met with congressional leaders today for a meeting that they all termed constructive. We'll dig into that. And next, could Petraeus have weathered the storm? Well, word is he wanted to try to tough it out, but was persuaded not to. Is it possible to live through this kind of a high-profile sex scandal in the 21st century, even if you're the head of the CIA? And later, a return to Gilgo Beach. The mother of Shannon Gilbert, the missing prostitute who disappeared here and sparked the entire Gilgo Beach investigation, is suing the man who may have been the one to last see her before she disappeared. We're going to have a docket in our region, some high-profile cases. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. A lot to get to in the next 60 minutes. I'm Richard French, and thanks so much for joining us this Friday evening, November 16th. Now, we got a glimpse, just a little one, of bipartisanship in the nation's capital today, and whether it was all for self reasons, it doesn't make a difference. They got together in the same room and they can kill each other. Could the fiscal cliff actually move into our rearview mirror sooner than we thought? Well, our senior political correspondent Andrew Whitman's been following the day's events. Give me a little optimism, Andrew.
What was that
Give me a
word
little
you were
bit.
using? The bipar.
Yeah. Well, I'll teach you what it means later.
We will see, Rich. The president sat down with congressional leaders, both Democrats and Republicans, today to tackle taxes and spending cuts. They all said it was a productive meeting, which is a good thing, considering what little time there is left before fiscal Armageddon could hit.
Let the negotiations begin.
I think we're all aware that we have some urgent business to do.
That urgent business, the fiscal cliff looming at the end of the year. If Congress doesn't act, $650 billion in spending cuts and tax increases go into effect on January 1st, and that will affect every American taxpayer. Today, the president sat down with congressional leaders for the first time to start hammering out a deal. As the meeting started, there were few signs of any simmering tensions.
My understanding is tomorrow's Speaker Boehner's birthday. We're not going to embarrass him with a cake because we didn't know how many candles were needed. But we do want to wish him a happy birthday.
And after the 70-minute sit-down, the unanimous takeaway?
We had a very constructive meeting.
It was a very constructive meeting.
A very constructive meeting.
Constructive meeting.
But there are key differences that need to be worked out. President Obama was expected to push for extending the Bush tax rates for families earning $250,000 or less and letting them expire for the top 2% of earners. He's asking for a total of $1.6 trillion in new taxes over the next 10 years, and Republicans are not on board.
We're in the dilemma we're in, not because we tax too little, but because we spend too much.
Today, House Speaker John Boehner said additional revenue is on the table,
As long as it's accompanied by significant spending cuts.
So differences remain, but it was constructive. Congress will recess for Thanksgiving, but Senator Reid said negotiators will keep working with the goal of reaching a deal well before the clock is set to expire on December 31st. Rich?
You know, it's hopeful, Andrew, when the president to make any permatan cracks at the expense of the speaker. All right, let's bring in our panel on this. Eric Cook, media consultant with Hiltzik Strategies. Help me out with the pronunciation with that one. And thank you, former press secretary for Congressman Anthony Weiner. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Ed Cox, chairman of the New York State Republican Party. And Andrew, who you've already met. I'll go around, and please don't use the word constructive. Out of self-interest, I've been saying nobody wants to deal more, maybe than even the president, than John Boehner. He's got a chance here to kind of recapture his party. He doesn't want to go through the embarrassment what he had to do a year ago. Do you think that he can pull enough strings that even if some of the Tea Party base, even if they say they don't have a caucus, will go along?
Well, I think Boehner understands that this is a chance for him to set the reset button. What the American people voted for on Tuesday, or a few Tuesdays ago, was a balanced approach. It's something that the president campaigned on. It's something that he probably wakes up in the morning every day saying balanced approach. So I think that Boehner understands that the Republican Party can't continue to be the party that defends millionaires and billionaires. It can't continue to defend the top 2% of earners. This is something that the American people want. It's something that the president has continuously campaigned on, and it's something that the people voted for a few weeks ago.
What did you take away today, Dominic, other than everybody obviously got the same script to say constructive? If anything, did you read that these guys are going to get something done before 12/31 or no?
Definitely the deal's going to be done, and it's going to be done well ahead of the deadline. But what I found very interesting, and maybe I've just been following politics too long, but when Nancy Pelosi got up to the microphone, I noticed that she first said spending cuts. So that's right along the lines of what Republicans want to hear. The deal will be done. There's no doubt about that.
The question is how big, Andrew? I've always thought the window of time, as much as any since Obama's been there, if he could cram a lot into the next 45 days here, this is the window to do it. But time doesn't seem to permit that you'll be able to make this thing an omnibus kind of thing.
Well, you're talking about a lot of things to put under one roof. And keep in mind, there's multiple ideas of what victory or what success is in this case. Is it just stopping us from going over the cliff? Because that's different from actually changing tax rates or doing anything that beyond just a temporary extension. Or are you talking about actually working on the deficit and the national debt, which is a much bigger fish to fry and probably beyond the scope of what they can get done in this period. But a lot of the wheeling and dealing that we've been talking about, so many moving parts may not all come together in time. I don't think we're going to hit the cliff with the worst possible scenario, but I'm not at all convinced that we're going to get agreement on tax policy or on elimination of loopholes.
That's exactly right. And what they're going to end up doing will be putting it off for 9 months. Entitlements have to be on the table. That means Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. If you're closing loopholes and you're cutting deductions or capping deductions, those are very complicated issues.
So you think they're going to kick the can?
They're going to kick this, but for good reason, because they're going to be making progress working through all these issues. And you need to leave time for the right political posturing so everyone takes care of their base and brings it together.
But it's not like this conversation came out of left field. Everybody knew this date was on the agenda. And for me, I got to think they said, all right, President might say I want $1.7 trillion in revenue enhancements. Pretty word to say tax cuts, okay? Now, whether that's strictly with rates or you're going to have loophole closures or whatever, I don't think they go past 12/31. Disagree with me. Without, maybe he says he wants to be 39.6, it comes down to 37 and change. There are going to be some spending cuts that are going to be on the table, too. The president wants to do something with Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, okay? Maybe it's not going to be the grand bargain we all talk about, but I don't think they go past 12/31 without something tangible. Do you?
I really don't. I think that there's incentive on both sides. I think the president has said it, John Boehner has said it, Mitch McConnell said it, Nancy Pelosi has said it. I mean, when have all 5 of them gotten in a room together and fundamentally agreed that this is something that we need to get done? It's something that we need to put behind us before we have the new congressional session that comes in 2013. I think that they all want a clean slate when they start this new Congress. And I think that's what the American people want. It's what business wants.
Respectfully, though, I mean,
whenever he says that, he learned that from Dominic.
I think you do have lawmakers who say the same things in general at the same time. Everybody talks about job creation. Everybody wants job creation. All 535 lawmakers on Capitol Hill want job creation. They just have diametrically opposite ways to go about it.
Strategically, why in God's name would the president kick this can? He's never going to have more leverage than he has now. Who knows what's going to happen in 6 months? No way.
The stars are aligned for the perfect opportunity right now.
And Republicans are wounded, with all due respect, after the elections. They're going to get something done. I think the most notable thing is what hasn't been said. I haven't, with the exception of Paul Ryan, heard a Republican say tax cuts will not be on the table. Tax hikes, will not be on the table. I mean, look at some of the guys. Bob McDonnell, Haley Barbour. You got Republican governors out there saying, yeah, you know what, it's got to be part of the equation.
But you've had McConnell say he doesn't want rates to go up. We can talk about revenue. I think Boehner's even said he doesn't want rates to go up, but revenue is on the table.
I don't want the Jets to stink, but they do. It's going to have to be part of the equation. I mean, I think everybody does the math.
You've never had a weaker re-election of a president since Woodrow Wilson, this re-election. He got less votes than wait a second. He got less votes than John McCain got 4 years ago.
He still got 330 electoral votes.
Yeah, but only 2 million less.
And he got
the
3
president
million more
got
than your guy.
8.8 million less.
He got 3 million more than your guy. So if he says that he
and what did he run on? He ran on simply
it doesn't matter.
Being a negative campaign person with
we know what the president ran on.
So look, it's going to take time to work this deal out. There's not a mandate for anything, but the fiscal needs of this country demand that something get done. But it's complicated. It's going to take more than 45 days over the holiday.
They're going to get something done. I'm telling you right now. I don't know what it's going to look like. But my question, finally, we go to break. Who's going to be the bigger pain in the you-know-what here? The left wing of the Democrats or the Tea Party folks, some of which already lost their job and they're going out the door in January?
Neither. the left party, as far as Democrats, they understand, they're not obstructionists, they understand that you have to have compromise. Most people are reasonable, and the far right on the Tea Party, frankly, they don't matter anymore. So it's done.
All right, we're going to jump to a break here. When we come back, we're going to dig into the Benghazi controversy, which has a real possibility here of derailing, forget about just fiscal talks here, but the start of the second term of this president. Some say it's bigger than Watergate. We're going to talk about some perspective here on this. Stay with us.